Okay, at this time, um, I would like to introduce the new executive board for the Coordinators Network. I would like to start by introducing the secretary, Lakeisha Shaw, financial secretary, Andrea Horn, treasurer, Sean Birch Crispin, vice president, Renetta Mitchell, and today I am passing the gavel as president of the Coordinators Network to Ms. Denisha Harris as our new president of the North Carolina MWBE Network. In the past, we have passed the gavel to several presidents, and they'll be on here talking today. But Tammy Hall passed the gavel to me 4 years ago. And I would like to say to Denisha, congratulations. I know you're going to do well. You're a leader, and I've seen you in action. So, congratulations, and I hand it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pam. Thank you so much to everyone. This is such an exciting day for me, and I'm so blessed and so privileged to have the opportunity to serve. So, on behalf of the incoming administration, we would like to thank you for the opportunity to serve the network, and we're excited about the next 2 years to come. However, the network would not be where it is today without the leadership of Ms. Pamela Gales. Over the past 4 years, you and your administration have been a driving force, propelling the network forward in our mission to support public and private diversity professionals. Under your leadership, we have continued to advance the professional development of our members and raise the bar for advocacy and support of our minority business community. For this reason, the network would like to present you with the Outstanding Leadership Award. Now, this award is presented to you, Ms. Pamela Gales, in appreciation for your dedicated service and unwavering commitment as president of the North Carolina MWBE Coordinators Network for the terms of 2016 through 2020. With appreciation of your many years of dedicated service, devotion, and commitment to our organization. I'd just like to personally thank you, Pam, for your hard work and your dedication to the network. You will be receiving your formal plaque soon, but thankfully you will not be leaving the network. You will still be serving on the board as immediate past president. So we appreciate all of your work and thank you so much. And now, if you all would please welcome Ms. Carla Daniels, Programs Chair Committee.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thank you, Denisha, and congratulations to all of our officers. I am Carla Daniels, and I'm the Hub Coordinator at Wake Tech, and I am the Program Chair for the network. We're excited to bring our quarterly meeting to you today virtually. It certainly is a different format than what we're accustomed to, but in the long run, it's really good that we can still gather together and be with one another. I want to take a quick minute to welcome all of our guests. If you're attending for the first time, we hope you will leave with a greater understanding of the work that has been and is yet to be accomplished by the North Carolina MWBE Coordinators Network. We are very glad that you're here. Thank you to our sister organizations in attendance today, the Hispanic Contractors Association of the Carolinas, the United Minority Contractors of North Carolina, the Institute. We're glad you all are with us. Thank you to our panelists for being with us today. We'll hear more from them in a little bit. And also a great big thank you to our program committee, China Green, Tony Phillips, Candace Kurtz, Keisha Davis, Denisha Harris, Pam Gales, and Bernetta Mitchell We've worked pretty hard over the last several weeks to bring this together, and certainly without their hard work, it would not have been possible to be with you today. We're going to have a panel discussion today, and we're going to share the history of the network, its accomplishments, challenges, and future planning. I want to give you just a little bit of background, especially for those of you who may be new to this organization. This all started in 1987 when few municipalities had legally established programs that featured the notion of inclusion for commodity purchases or construction projects. In that same year, the North Carolina Minority and Women Business Enterprise Coordinators Network was established with 7 members as a think tank to share strategies and ideas on administering minority business programs. Over the past 33 years, the members of the Coordinators Network have been committed to ensuring that all segments of the community have an equitable opportunity to participate in professional service contracts, procurement contracts, and construction projects in both public and private sectors. Today, the network has increased its membership to more than 100 participants from state agencies, universities, community colleges, municipalities, and private organizations throughout North Carolina. So we have this really great foundation. We hope you will enjoy the panel discussion. Part of the goal for the coming year for the programs committee is to bring you information and topics that will support continued professional development. The foundation of this organization, of course, is advocacy and support for our minority business community, but also for our diversity professionals. And so one of the things that we really want to do today is to hear from you about what you would like to see in the coming year in terms of programming. So before we begin our panel discussion, we're going to take a break. And during the break, you will have an opportunity to weigh in on our future programming. We will provide you with some topics to get you started, but please feel free to make suggestions. During the coming year, the Programs Committee will work from the information generated by you to create programs that are thoughtful and purposeful and that will support you in the work that you are doing in your individual places and spaces, and then the work we are doing as a group. Please take a moment to share your thoughts with us. And I also want to put a little plug in. If you would like to be a part of the Programs Committee and help us develop our future meetings and conferences and professional development opportunities, we are here and we would love to have you join us. So if this is something you think you would like to be a part of, please let one of us know, and we will definitely loop you into this process. Thank you again, everyone, for being here today. And I look forward to the time when we can be together again in person. Until that time, we will do this via Zoom, and appreciate all of you and the work that you're doing as well. Thank you. We're going to take a break very quickly. I believe that Keisha is going to load in the polling questions for us. And once we come back from the break, we will begin our panel discussion, and I'll do a quick introduction of our moderator and we'll get that started. And we'll give you some instructions about asking questions of our panelists. So thank you all, and please take a moment to log in your opinions regarding our programming for the coming year. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to come on real quick and give the 3-minute warning. We'll be resuming in about 3 minutes, and I'll be closing the poll before we resume. So if you have not completed the poll, please go ahead and respond. Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone for participating in our poll. We're going to get started. I want to take just a couple of seconds to introduce our moderator for today. Tony Phillips became the MWBE Director for Guilford County Schools on November 4th of 2019. Prior to that, he served as the Hub Coordinator at the University of North Carolina, Greensboro from 2009 to 2019. Tony was responsible for overseeing the day-to-day operation and long-term strategies in accordance with the mission of UNCG's Hub program, while providing minority and women-owned businesses equal access to all of the university's construction and procurement programs. He has been a member of the Coordinators Network since 2007. Thank you, Tony, for your time today, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Carla. And good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us on this day today. My name again is Tony Phillips, and today I have the honor to be the moderator for this amazing panel session. As Carla stated, the Coordinators Network was established in 1987, 33 years ago, 33, with 7 members as a think tank. And now we're over 100 participants in this organization. These 5 exceptional past and present network leaders will talk about the early stages of the network and the network's 2020 vision moving forward. So let's kick off this discussion with a legend of the North Carolina MWBE coordinator's profession, Mr. Luther Williams. Short bio of Mr. Williams. Luther is retired, luckily. Good job, Luther. A former City of Raleigh employee from September of 1988 to March of 2015. Luther served as the city's small disadvantaged minority and woman-owned business manager, became a member of the Coordinators Network in 1989, and remained a member until 2015. The position he held with the network was VP and Treasurer. Good morning, Luther. Can you hear me?
Yes, I said good morning. How are you? Can you hear me?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Fantastic.
Luther, you joined the network 2 years after it was established. I have 2 questions for you.
Okay.
What would you say was the biggest challenge facing the Coordinators Network at the time? And the second question is, what were the names of the 7 original members that started this organization in 1987?
Okay. First of all, let me respond. That's been a long time, so I forgot those names. Okay. My memory is not as sharp as it used to be. Secondly, I want to say that some of the biggest challenges, I guess you might say, at that particular time. Well, first of all, let me give you a little, I guess, a little environmental aspect of the programs at that time, so we'll give you a better appreciation for what we were confronted with by having the program. You got to realize in 1988, the president of the United States at that particular time was Ronald Reagan. The governor at that time was Jim Martin. And, the programs and the policy and all were not really, let's say, supportive of the efforts that we were trying to accomplish. And with that in mind, the program itself then was started back in 1987 with one objective, with one of the primary objectives, that was to provide an avenue for individuals, for the practitioners like myself, to have an opportunity to talk and share with other areas within the state on how they were performing and how to gather some resources that would support us in our efforts. And that in itself, it was quite was a challenge. And the network itself, now you got to realize also, take in consideration that the network was formed, but it needed support from our top administrators and our directors, city managers, and all. And they want to look at this as not being, they look at it as they wanted to make sure that if we were part of a network and we were paying dues, that it was not basically another means to go out and have a party. Because during that time, all of these other organizations, if you look at basically, they know what it existed at those parties, at their conferences. So they want to make sure that what we were doing did not reflect what they had seen in the past. So we had that challenge of trying to make sure that we had something that was legitimate, but not only that it was workable and doable, and it was something that would support us in our everyday operation. Because at that particular time, if you were a practitioner in Raleigh and you only had about 4 or 5 other major cities that was actually performing those tasks, you didn't have nobody else in your organization to help you or to give you any direction because none was there. This was a new model. So we had to rely upon other individuals within other cities and municipalities in order to come up with a workable solution that would support the network, would support our daily operations. And the network was the only avenue at that particular time that would be able to support those
efforts. Thank you, Luther, for that information. I'm trying to grab something else on top of that.
Okay.
Let me ask China if there's any questions in the chat room while I try to resolve an issue I have here for Luther.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we have a question in the chat that was basically how was the network able to engage practitioners in the state early on? Luther.
Initially, we did it initially by forming through phone conversation. Then we started to have quarterly meetings, and the meetings itself. Then we had to go around various places because at that particular time, there was Liz Mills that was in Charlotte. There was I'm trying to think. We had Charlotte, Greensboro, High Point, Durham, and City of Raleigh, and New Hanover County were the only basic areas that actually was at that particular time had a program. Liz and Cora McFadden was in Durham, and Pat Levin was at New Hanover County. So we actually started to conversate via phone, and then we started finding other individuals that want to be a part of this private program, and that's how we became started.
Thank you for answering that. Honey, did you want to go ahead and share the next panelist?
Yeah. My computer went bad, fell on me, so forgive me, guys. I apologize. Just when I needed it to work the right way, it's not.
Let's see. Let's bring in the question.
Okay.
We have another one. As a result of engagement, have you seen more support from organizations, I guess, as the years went on early on? And how did you really gauge that interest from the corporations and organizations that you were supporting?
Well, we had first we had to show that we were an organization that was capable of performing our tasks, and once that was established, then we gained more credibility, and other organizations didn't want to be a part of it or be the supporters in our efforts because what we were doing as practitioners, we was making the jobs easier for our contractors. You got to realize that at that particular time, we were only dealing with construction projects with no consumer goods associated and no professional contracts, professional service, I would say. And also, and one of the things that you got to also think about, how do we come up with a 10% goal?
Mm-hmm.
You know, basically, there was no justification for a 10% goal. It relates to nothing. So my infinite wisdom, which is very limited, I said, well, they must have pulled a biblical script or something, come out with 10% gold as a 10% tithe. And I don't know, that's just one. But they came up with this 10% goal, and at that particular time, we had nothing to really base it on because we didn't have the disparity studies at that time. So after we began continuously working, then we began to build up the support we needed in order to try to come up with some to influence the program a little bit better. And the network was the catalyst for that.
Anthony, were you ready? Did you get your?
I am. I'm going to have to wing it because my system went down, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. But I thank you, Luther, for it's always good to see you, and I appreciate everything that you've done. When everything started in 1987, when I came on board, you were one of the three that everybody said we needed to talk to between you and Garland Burton and Luther and Marvin Williams at NC State. You guys were the three that everyone looked up to you and asked for your guidance and things that were needed in the MWBE program. So I appreciate you and thank you.
Okay.
The next two ladies on the panel is two of the hardest working women in this industry. Vanetta Mitchell and Shelby Gales. In short brief for Vanetta is Vanetta is the owner. Miss Mitchell is the owner of Mitchell Consulting Group. She found her calling as an advocate for the minority and women business in 1995, where she was introduced to supply diversity. Since then, she has traveled the country conducting disparity studies, managed multifaceted designed supply diversity programs, performed community outreaches and engagement. Vanetta joined the network in 1998 and was elected president in 2004. Vanetta has worked in many network community committees and projects throughout the year. Vanetta is a wife, a mother of two wonderful young men, and a Army veteran.
No, Air Force.
Air Force.
Shame on
I
you.
found it. I had Army on there because well, that's nothing. Thank you, Vanetta, and good morning.
Good morning.
My question to you, Vanetta, you started this, you were president at the time that we started this, the Big Bond program. That first Big Bond program that we all had that was giving money out to everyone.
Yeah.
What were the challenges you faced at the time, and how was the organization responsible or helping to establish the statewide uniform certification program that we are using now?
Great question. So that's kind of a two-part question. So the bond program really catapulted a lot of minority, particularly construction companies, into growing, scaling up their businesses. So as advocates, the network, we put our minds together and say, okay, we've got to make sure we have a process in which minority businesses and women businesses have an opportunity to compete for projects. We started talking about breaking down projects. And really, the challenge, or I think probably the hardest work, was getting the majority prime firms to getting them on board with what the mission of the program was. And so we spent a lot of time talking about strategy. We spent a lot of time networking with each other to say, okay, I have this situation here. How is anyone else? Is anyone else facing this? And what are you doing about it? Or what can we do within the realm of the law at the time? So without the network, I'm not necessarily sure, I'm not quite convinced that the minority and women-owned businesses that actually had the opportunity to work on some of the bond projects would have had those opportunities without the network. And that is instrumental. And we continue to do that today of developing best practices. And I'll let Denisha and Pam kind of talk about the vision, but I mean, we still continue to do that today. It's really important for the members of the network to not only engage with each other, but also seek other guidance from non-members who have a specialty in something. So as we were dealing with the bond program and getting firms certified, getting firms engaged, the outreach was expansive. We were going to businesses in every corner of the state that we could find to work on the various bond projects, and assisting them through that process. In doing so, one of the things that I think the network members realize is that as supplier diversity or MWBE coordinators, we were spending so much time certifying individually in our respective districts and municipalities. And the certification, for the most part, was all the same across the board. So we began a discussion around what would it look like if, instead of me spending all of my time, 70, 80% of my time getting firms certified, if I time actually assisting firms with development. And so we started talking about a uniform certification. What does that look like? How will it help all of your municipalities? And the challenge at the time is that, Luther talked about the not really the management not really understanding what we do and what that looks like. So we always have to justify our hours. Why are you doing what you're doing? Explain it to me. So it took several years for all of our members to actually kind of rethink and refocus their efforts and convince people why
a uniform certification it was necessary at the time. So we now have it thanks to everyone that carried that vision forward, and it's working out great right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's find out, China, does anyone have a question for Vanetta before I move over to Shelby?
We do not have any particular questions, but if you do, please use the chat and I will be sure to get back to the group.
All right. Thank you, Vanetta. Ms. Shelby Scales. She ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Ms. Scales, as Director of the North Carolina Department of Transportation Office of Civil Rights, Shelby oversees the daily operations of the department's effort to promote, provide, as well as monitor opportunities to small and disadvantaged businesses. Also manages the Office of Civil Rights Oversight NCDOT's Equal Employment Opportunity Responsibilities, its Title VI program, and its compliance programs. Ms. Gale comes to NCDOT with a vast amount of experience in transportation in the transportation industry, as well as a small business owner herself. Shelby joined the network more than a decade ago and has been active in the organization's leadership and served as president from 2006 to 2010. So good morning, Shelby.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
My question to you, Shelby, is this. What would you consider your greatest accomplishment during the presidency with the network?
Like Renetta, there was a lot going on back then. A lot of changes in supplier development, a lot of changes in policy. And I think for me, I tended to focus more on getting the policies in place that we needed, whether it's what was through the universities or municipalities or through USDOT subrecipients like the airports, NCDOT, and et cetera. I will tell you, while at RDU, the network unequivocally, and all of its many members, but certainly I want to just give a shout out to a couple folks, Rodney Rennicks, Chiquita Lloyd, Pam Gales, Luther Williams, Annette Stevenson, and China Edwards, really helped me on the policy side while at RDU as a supply diversity professional, get professional services on our contracts. We were able to get gold on professional services. That was a huge policy change. And we brought that to the network. We brought the advocacy, and I talked to many of the network professionals around how they were doing it in their agencies and what were some of the pitfalls and shortfalls and challenges of getting that done. And so through that mentorship, through collaboration, one person knew somebody, another person knew a legislator, we were able to get that done personally on my job at RDU through the network. We were also able to revise our hub program at RDU, and that was really big for me in terms of tighten some of the loopholes, for example, in good effort. And again, utilizing the networks, their resources and experience, whether it's from Bernetta with the city of Charlotte or others, or Luther with the city of Raleigh, just kind of understanding collectively what our challenges were and how we could go back to our agency and make those changes policy-wise. And then I would say also, while at DOT, DOT was going through many policy changes as well. If you recall, Bernetta, we were going through the UCP, the Uniform Certification Program, like we were on the hub side. So we were able to do uniform certification through NCDOT, whereby making a one-stop shop for the DBE certification and the ACDB certification. And again, I owe all of that, and many of my colleagues during that time, not long ago, owe that to our collaboration and our bringing resources to the table and understanding of various policies. When a group of people are all saying the same thing and all pushing for the same thing, it gives a level of legitimacy and also a level of credibility. So for me, those things were very, very important. As the president, we were going through some changes as well. Bernetta certainly left me in good hands, but we needed to do some modernization of things. For me, I really was encouraged to take our retreats to conferences. And so I really pulled on a lot of our national policy makers like a Jim Clyburn from the CDC, William Kirk, who basically was one of the authors of our DBE program, spent a lot of time with us. Juliette Malveaux, Dr. Malveaux came to South Carolina when we held our conference there. Henry Lancaster, and certainly our fearless trailblazer, Ms. Andrea Harris, helped us to shape our policies, think differently about strategy and analytics as it relates to policy. And then the last thing I would say as president is any association needs resources. So you either get your resources from the network, either through membership or through sponsorship. And so that was another major undertaking for my administration, was to really make our retreat a conference so we can tell our supporters and our allies, hey, you are sponsoring a professional development conference, not a retreat just for us. We actually opened it up more to our MWBEs to come in and hear from them and learn from them as well. So those were my big takeaways, and it was challenging, but it was also very rewarding to see us morph into, in my opinion, a more professional organization. So thank all of you, and I still thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you, Shelby. As I stated with Renetta, at that time we were right in the heat of these bond projects. We were all trying to spend money. We were all trying to bid and trying to get minority participation on every project that we could, trying to get beyond 10%, trying to hit 15, 20%. And with the two of you guys, I truly have to commend you guys for your assistance in that time, assisting the hub office to get and identify minority contractors during that time to try to get those numbers to where we want them to be. So thank you guys once more. Thank you, Shelby. Thank you, Vanetta. Let me turn it back over to China to see if there's any questions for in the chat.
Yes, thank you for your answers. We do have a few questions here. This one's for Vanetta or Shelby, whoever can answer this, regarding uniform certification. If you are familiar or know why we allow reciprocity from neighboring states like Georgia, Virginia, Tennessee, South Carolina, that do not recognize our North Carolina certification.
So at NCDOT, we do not practice reciprocity. Not from my seat, and I've been fighting that fight ever since I got into the federal side of supplier diversity. I think that if DMVs across the nation can figure out how to give you a driver's license and keep up with your record all across the country, we should be able to do that on the certification side. We have chosen through our UCP not to practice reciprocity, but to do a short form for anyone coming into the state to get certified. We have had some challenges, and I'll just be honest and transparent with you, at the Department of Transportation with turnover of certifiers and interpretations of complex companies, because as all of you know on the phone, certification is big business, and if you're certified, you can get big business. So those who choose to be fraudulent, they have really sophisticated their packages. And I think on the one hand, our coordinators and in my office, we have not necessarily kept up with the business acumen. And so just to give us the pause to look at certifications coming from outside of North Carolina, we have chosen to have them go through a short form reciprocity form where we do a shorter version. But from my understanding, our surrounding states do not accept our certifications as well. And I think that's going to be an ongoing challenge for businesses who are our end users, but also for professionals such as myself and my team to keep up with the skill set needed to actually analyze certifications and give good determinations to where we won't get questioned all the time from other states. And I think if we can figure that piece out, the reciprocity will come.
Corinne, did you have an answer to that?
I don't have anything to add. Now, while the hub office and the statewide SWOG, I can't speak to why that is the policy. So maybe at some point, Ms. Hall can let us know why that's the policy for the SWOG certification. So that's a great response, Shelby.
We do have another question in regards. So you mentioned the professional development conferences that the network started to put on. Can you kind of explain or I guess identify what that looked like early on? What were some of the topics? But then early on, what does that look like compared to, I guess, now what we're doing?
So I apologize that I have not been as involved in recent years in our conferences. I will do better. I will do better. But I will tell you, coming from Vanetta's administration to my administration, we were hard pressed with resources and with going back to our agency and saying, hey, I want to take a whole week to go to this retreat.
Yeah.
When people think of retreat, they think of, you just get together and having fun. Yeah, exactly. And we did. Yeah. We did. We had a lot of fun together.
Yeah.
But the change came in my mind with bringing outside subject matter expertise to train us. So where in the retreats, we tended to lean on each other because we were limited in resources and limited in our budget to even bring in subject matter experts. With having more sponsorships around the conferences, you were able to pay a Julian Malveaux to come and speak, or pay for a Bill Kirk who's, helping USDOT write the rules and regulations to come and speak and train us. So I think, again, as an association, and I've been an association president at the state level and at the national level, if you don't have funds and resources, you can't expand upon oftentimes those things that you need that you can't find within that organization. And so, again, I can't speak to how you're doing it today, but I know our effort was around really getting the Rodney Strongs and the Colette Holtz and the Julian Malveaux and those people to come to North Carolina and really walk us through various processes and policies to train and teach us. And that takes money.
Absolutely. And that was really important as we were designing the conferences, because you don't go to a university, a four-year university or a two-year university or a community college to learn how to do this work. So it was really important as we were developing the conference to listen to what the members of the association, those that are brand new in MWBE, in the MWBE world, try to figure out what in the blank am I supposed to be doing and how do I do it well, right? So our conferences was a lot of listening to the members saying, here are the things that I need to learn. Here are the things that I want to learn. And like Shelby said, finding those subject matter experts to come in and help us. So it was a lot of begging people for, can you give us $1,000 for Rodney's airfare? Or, can you give us $500 for the hotel stay of Ms. Malveaux to come in? So it was a lot of work. It was, over the years, initially the conferences were small in attendance, but they were powerful in its presentation. And then the more the word got out about those conferences and the benefit of those conferences, they began to grow and expand year after year after year. So, yeah.
We do have another. It'd be good to bring in our next two. I think that would be a good question to ask for the whole group as we get there toward the end. So I'll hand it back over to you, Tony.
Right. Thank you, Shina. The next two panelists, as of today, is to change up the network presidency. Ms. Pam Gale and Ms. Denisha Harris. Ms. Gales has spent over 20 years of her career in local and state government. She is currently employed with Wake County's public school system as the hub program manager. She oversees the Minority Women Business Program for the school system. She has over 14 years of experience running supply diversity program. She has spent countless hours at small business fairs and expos and supported other partner agencies with her energy and commitment to the mission of educating, supporting, and assisting MWBE community. She has received several honors for her work in supply diversity and advocacy. She currently serves on the board of directors for United Minority Contractors of North Carolina, the Women Business Center of North Carolina, and the North Carolina Society of Hispanic Professionals, and various other communities supporting the MWBE community. She has received several honors for her work in supply diversity and advocacy. Whew. Ben, you sleep?
No,
Do you sleep?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Good morning, Pam.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Pam, my question to you is, how does the network impact the roles of diversity and inclusion professionals across both public and private entities?
Well, the network has been around for a while. I know a lot of the public public entities know about the coordinators network because, of course, a lot of them are members of the coordinators network. But we do professional development. Every time we would have a meeting, we'd have a professional development session, and we always bring in someone that where we can teach the coordinators different aspects of supplier diversity and being an advocate, and for just regular D&I. Sometimes we would even have just someone come in and talk about diversity and inclusion. But other ways is that we invite everyone into our quarterly meetings, like today. We want everyone to come and hear about the Coordinators Network, whether you're private or public. We all work with a lot of private organizations, such as contractors, and a lot of contractors have diversity practitioners that are a part of the network. So I think we affect the public and private in both good ways, because the private industry gets to come in and learn about how we manage our programs for our public entities, and then they can take that back and apply it to when they come to work with us. So I think that's a unique situation. We have been approached by other states since I've been the president about how we do this, and they like the way we do this, and they want to start something like this in their state, because there aren't many times you can get both the public and the private together to learn about how to work together on these public and private partnerships that we have. So, even learning about all the different methods of construction. And now, since, Denisha is also probably will speak about the purchasing side of it, because I was in purchasing for, 16 years. And now with bringing in more of the purchasing professional development, I think the coordinators are going to be able um, to have that diverse background to be able to go and work in any industry that basically that they would like to, because I think that we always cross from the private to the public. So I think they'll be able to take that with them.
Thank you, Pam. Ms. Denisha Harris, the new president. Welcome aboard. Congratulations.
I appreciate it.
Denisha Harris serves as Financial Service Manager for the City of Greensville. In her role, she administers and supervises the procurement functions of the city. She also oversees the Minority and Women Business Enterprise Program, for which she developed and served as coordinator for over 8 years. Her experience in the MWBE program development and procurement has led to a teaching appointment at the UNC School of Government and training opportunities for the North Carolina Hub Office and the Carolina Association for Governmental Purchasers. She has served the network for over a decade in various capacities, including a member of the program committee, scholarship chair, vice president, and now the president. So congratulations again, Denisha. My question to you is, what are your hopes and vision for the Coordinators Network in the next 3 to 4 years?
Fantastic. Thank you for this opportunity to speak a little bit about my vision for the Coordinators Network over the next term of my presidency. As Pam alluded to, I do come from both an MWBE equal business opportunity background as well as procurement. So I definitely have an understanding of how they work hand in hand and hand in glove, if you will. So I'm very excited to build on the experience and expertise I have in training and education and really rolling out the best practices of our MWBE programs by establishing firmly the network as the equal business opportunity experts for North Carolina. When I think about the network, I think about the certification program that we recently instituted. The certification program will be an affordable credential that will give employers and others in our industry the information to demonstrate that we are skilled professionals and we bring these skills, knowledge, and ability to the table. Again, this is something that will be administered by the UNC School of Government, which of course is one of the leading government scholars in North Carolina. So I do encourage anyone that's interested in pursuing this field, currently in the field, even in the purchasing realm, to consider getting their certification, because again, it will position you as a leader, as a skilled professional in this organization. I also would like for us to focus our energy on important and relevant professional development opportunities for our members. So one thing that we know is that we are living in a new age. This is a new time, a new era. And so because of that, we are going to have to rethink how we do our professional development. And because we're having to rethink and retool, it is also going to enhance our professional development because we have the opportunity to provide that professional development with you in mind. It's something that is easy to consume, something that you can take advantage of wherever you are and on the go. So before, whereas perhaps we would have to come together in a quarterly meeting and would include travel and things of that nature, we now have the opportunity to have more virtual and online information that will assist you in your professional development. So I'm really excited about providing that professional development opportunity to the network. I also want to be intentional in our focus to recruit and to retain industry professionals. The supplier diversity industry is a very unique industry. As Verdana mentioned earlier, it's not something that you can go to school for and get your degree and just come out with the KSAs, if you will, right out of college. It's something that you have to learn and have to be mentored in, and it's an experience that every day you experience something different and you add to your repertoire. So we want to start that mentoring early. We want to get folks engaged and excited about this work. We want them to understand the importance and the impact of this work, particularly in this time where I believe the appetite of even the globe, definitely our country and our nation, are very, very focused on how we can impact systemic change for those who have been marginalized and be oppressed in our nation and our world. So get folks, even in the college area, to be excited about being in supplier diversity. So we will approach those college folks, those college students, and kind of shepherd them into what we're doing here at the network. And then once we get them here, we're going to be intentional about retaining them because we understand that this work is not for the light. It's not for the faint of heart. It's one that you have to be committed to. You have to be dedicated to because you don't always see the rewards every day. So we want to be intentional about shepherding and mentoring those that we have and really continuing the efforts of our Emerging Leaders program. So we're excited about that. And of course, we're going to continue upon the organizational structure, our processes, enlarge our membership, and serve more of our diversity professionals. So we're really excited about what's up ahead. It's going to be some work, but we've got a good team that's on board, that are committed, and that are excited about moving forward. And lastly, I'll just say that again, we're in a very interesting and important time in our nation, where I believe there is an appetite to see systemic change. And I'd like to see the network be a part of impacting that systemic change. So I'd love to see all of us come together, the sister organizations and the network come together to impact that systemic change.
Thank you, Denisha. Um, China, do we have any questions for Pam and Denisha?
Yes, but I mean, you all touched on a lot, especially you, Denisha, what the future of the coordinators network is going to look like in that vision. But if you want to highlight based off of what you just said, these two particular questions. The first question is, what are some resources for individuals new to developing a MWBE program? I think you hit a lot of that with the emerging leaders and kind of the early resources. But if you want to, I guess, touch on that a little bit more.
Well,
Sure.
if you, I was just going to say, Denisha, if you don't mind, I'd like to touch on the best practices for a moment, that we have been coming together for the past year and working on some best practices for the network. And with those best practices, I think that would be a great opportunity for someone that's new in the industry. I know we had a few new people that joined the last session, and they were just so excited about the opportunity to learn how we're all going to be on the same page and doing the same thing through the best practices across the state of North Carolina, because that has been a challenge for each coordinator in their organization, that they have not had the support or the tools, we'll say, in their toolbox to be able to talk to their leadership and let them know that these are the things that are the best practices for our, or for not just our organization, but all the organizations across North Carolina, which will make it an even playing field for everyone. So I think the opportunity for everyone to get to learn through that best practices that we've been working on, that we still have a couple more sessions to go through to get to these, the final ones that we can put out and that the network will support from all the leadership. I think that would be one way also. Sorry, Denisha, go ahead. I just thought that would be one of the ways they could learn.
No, that's perfect. I would echo what Pam has stated. Also, go to the School of Government, take the requisite courses in purchasing. That will help you understand purchasing law. It will definitely help guide the minority businesses. And of course, become a member of the network. Join emerging leaders. Again, it's about those who are in the field less than 5 years. And find a mentor. That is the first thing I did at the first conference I attended, was ask for a mentor. And one of the panelists here, Luther Williams, was my mentor.
Awesome. Thank you. And yes, I'll plug in, join the emerging leaders email as I'm the chair for that committee. The next question that we have is specifically to Denisha. You kind of touched on this in your blurb, but the experiences of African Americans have been getting a lot of media attention lately. What opportunity does this open up for our line of work?
Absolutely. So I mentioned systemic change in my original response. And what is systemic change? To me, that's defined as the practices, policies, and laws that we can put in place to make lasting change that will reverse the processes that we've had in place up until now. So when I think about practices, I think about what can we do on the local level to ensure that our MWBE firms have an equal opportunity. We know that what the law says, but we can expand upon the law as long as we don't contradict the law. So what can we do at our local level to ensure that we're putting those practices in place? And then when it comes to policies, what policies can we put in place across institutions? So again, when we talk about the best practices seminar that we're putting together, those are great nuggets that we can institute across institutions and have a united voice on how these programs will be run and how we will advocate for our businesses. And then when it comes to laws, we can think about the network as an advocacy tool, and not just the network. It's all the business support providers who are in this work. So I suggest that we lock arms together create a legislative agenda, and really begin pushing and advocating for those changes that we want to see.
Pam, did you want to comment?
Oh, I agree with everything Denisha says. Like Vernetta and Tony, but even though Vernetta was Air Force, my Army has always made me want structure, and that's all I can say is that I think that will bring some structure with the policies that we would have in place and the legislation that we may be able to help develop to be um, able to help all of us, throughout this process and our jobs. Our everyday jobs are already tough enough, but if we can work together to get some legislation that backs us in our jobs, I think we'll be awesome.
The key piece, that legislation piece. I don't know what the next run of show is, Tony. I would love to invite the panelists that we spoke to earlier to turn on their cameras to answer this question based off of what we have. I'm trying to find it here. Were you able to leverage your work with the network to change or impact the culture in your organization in regards to minority participation? Anyone would like to answer that one?
Ask the question again.
Were you all able, particularly being a part of the network, were you able to leverage that work that we were doing within the network to kind of impact change within the culture of the organization? So within the changes and the programs that you all were thinking about during that time, how did you, I guess, bring that to your organization? Did it impact some type of change for you?
Oh, absolutely. So I have like everyone else, a pretty diverse background. I remember working with J.A. Jones, which is a huge international construction company who is no longer in existence. But I remember working at J.A. Jones, and they were like, "What is MWBE stuff? What is that?" And having the resources of the network to really say, "Look, here's what it is, and here's how we do our work here as a construction company. The things that you should be considering." I carry that. So J.A. Jones, by asking the question, appointed me as their MWBE coordinator. And then when I carried that to the city of Charlotte, the city had a program that was there, just there, one person in the office, and it took a lot. So reaching out to network members to build strategy on how do we not only make our program for the city more aggressive and more active, but also how do we get some additional staff, because one person can't do it all. And then again, you look up the network when I went to work with Rogers Builders as the subcontractor manager. What was a little different there is I was responsible for the pre-qualification application and process for all of the first tier contractors that were working with us when we were CM. And that unique experience, I was able to work directly with those pre-qualified firms and say, okay, Rogers is chasing a project at North Carolina State. And I go out to the advocate at North Carolina State and say, we're coming to your town. What do we need to know? What do we need to do? And having that type of connection really helps the companies be successful across the board.
I would just like to chime in on that also. It has helped me in my career tremendously because when I started out at Durham County years ago, this was the first organization that they're saying you have to join the coordinators network. I said okay. So I went to the first meeting, and in that first meeting, when Shelby was appointed and Vernetta was stepping down, I was appointed secretary. So being involved from the beginning like that, not even getting a breath of fresh air, I was able to use that leverage with my position at the in the network for my job, because that those resources that they provided with professional development, and that was one of the main reasons I joined, because I heard the professional development was great, and the conferences you would get such good information, and being a part of the board helped me learn the process a lot faster. And I also, the word network is key in this organization's name, because that was my first time really being able to network with so many different minority firms and diverse firms, as we say now, so many diverse firms, and with so many different coordinators across the state of North Carolina. And that to me was very important, because from my purchasing background, of course, I was associated with the CHEP, and the CHEP is across the state of North Carolina also for the purchasers. So I had not had an opportunity to be a part of the diverse community that the coordinators network brought to me. So it helps me learn how to run my program more effectively. It gave me the tools that I needed. It gave me the knowledge that I needed to be able to run the programs that I had in the past. Because when I inherited the program, I started from scratch. So being able to build that program, and getting and learning how to manage that program, it definitely came from being a part of the coordinators network. And like I said, that network, the word network is a key word in this organization, because we do provide that opportunity for everyone to have that chance to meet and talk with, whether it's coordinators or diverse businesses.
Luther, did you hear the question? You're on your mic.
Okay. What was the question? I'm sorry.
Trying to
Yeah,
repeat that question for me.
I can reword it for you. Do you find value being a part of the network early on to help drive that change within your organization, within your agency?
Yes, the network was a must for me. I had no one else within the city itself that had any idea of what I was talking about. And they always saw me as a disruptor, because I was coming in with things they weren't aware of. And they didn't want to respond to it, because they was always want to do things the old way, the way they had been doing it in the past, without having to give in consideration to participation by minority and women-owned firms. So with the network, that was my shoulder to cry on. I would always call and say, hey, what are you guys doing? What was your approach in actually getting your contractors and your director and all involved in it? And then also, it's you have to look at too, what is the clientele of your administration? You know, what is your council made of? So I would actually go out and have coffee with my council members that live in certain districts that was very supportive, and to feed them information under the table, so they would go back to the council meetings and actually approach them on what we have talked about. So you learn all of those things by meeting with your coordinators, and we talk about how, what are the methods that you use in order to make sure that you get it to the policymakers, the one who's going to actually have the final, who has the end results of making determine whether a project's going to be approved or not approved. And so that's how you look at it. And the network was the tool, my resources, because I had no one else in the city that I could go to.
I definitely can agree with that. We have some comments that I'd just like to read off in the chat in regards to, yes, as a newbie, the best practices forum was very informative. I would agree with that as well. Renee Jones mentioned that the network is very unique. You've been working on a national basis. There's no other organization like it in the country. It has wonderful resource to many of us. I would definitely agree with that as well. Coming from a regional type of position, there's no other supportive network or organization or family like the coordinators network. Hi, Shelby, welcome back. Did you want to mention something around this question of the value the network has brought to change your organization?
don't think she heard the question.
Oh,
Didn't hear were you talking to me? I'm on 2 calls. I apologize.
We're all very busy. We were just mentioning the question was, what type of value do you believe the network kind of to ensure change within your organization or help you assist you to drive that change within your agency?
I would say again, just having the mentors that I've had, whether it's Luther or Miss Harris or Pam on procurement or Denisha on new age technology, on Renetta for disparity studies. Listen, you can't really fully grow and get the education that you need without a network group like ours. And so that's been my plus for personal professionalism as well as program professionalism.
And I'll echo what Renee says about this is a very unique organization. So as I travel the country conducting disparity studies, and I'm talking with different program administrators, I used to always brag about the network. And I was like, we have a network of supplier diversity individuals that we share ideas, create policy, and all these other things. And they're like, really? I was like, can we start one? Like, I mean, you can do what you want, but I'm just telling you, I belong to an organization that is great. But that what I've learned through the network in conducting disparity studies, one of the key features or deliverables is policy recommendations. And so where they were appropriate, some of the policies and some of the processes that we have established through our best practices or that we have established just to create an increased utilization, I have made some of those similar recommendations in other parts of the country. So.
Anthony, did you have any questions?
No, I have no more questions for the panelists. If there's nothing else in the chat room.
I would love to ask what your major accomplishments was during your, I guess, tenure of leadership within the coordinators network. What is kind of that one valuable thing that you left? Denisha's newer. I know she's been serving for a long time with the network, but what does that look like for you?
For me, I can say establishing emerging leaders.